To fix my food problem for good, I built a chicken cooker, which meant I needed a basement for the house. So I dug out a room underneath for my first nether portal and also a room for the chicken cooker. The chicken cooker here is a ghastly thing and about one of the only ways in Minecraft to completely automate food production. Adult chickens live in the upper chamber in the cooker. As they lay eggs at random times of the day, the eggs get captured by a hopper, fed into a dispenser and then fired by the dispenser into the lower chamber. There is a random chance that the egg will hatch a baby chicken. Although the babies will appear to have their head in the lava, their hitbox is only a half block high, so they're safe for now. When they grow into adult chickens, their hitbox will intersect with the lava, they die, and drop cooked chicken meat and feathers. The cow cooker works on a similar principle as the chicken cooker, but this machine is entirely manual. The cows need to be fed wheat in the upper chamber. When they do, they breed amongst themselves and produce baby cows. The baby cows will quickly fall into the lower chamber where they will remain until they turn into adults. Once there are enough adults in the lower chamber, we can press a button to release lava into that lower chamber. The adult cows die and they drop cooked beef and leather. This became my main food source for a very long time and my source of leather for the large number of books and bookcases required within the library. As the cows needed wheat to breed and produce babies, I built another greenhouse just for wheat. And quickly followed this up with another greenhouse for carrots. As I'd gained some knowledge of gardening through the Corrales barn build, I decided to terraform and plant wheat in the large field behind the barn. The main reason wasn't for wheat itself, but to stop hostile mobs spawning at night, as hostile mobs cannot spawn on crop blocks. During the terraforming, I built a small stream, a pond, and made an attempt at freehanding an old oak tree. The first builds on the realm by another player was by Boomfish, which were his house to the right and a shed to the left. These were his first ever builds in Minecraft and I think they turned out rather well. He even did the interiors to them. However, I discovered that the work blocks he'd put into the shed were interfering with the villager professions in the villager trading hall. Because of bugs in 1.14 and 1.15, villagers would often lose the link to their work block and would then link to work blocks in the shed, which caused them to lose trades, stop working, and basically spaz out as they tried to path towards their new work blocks. Of course, they couldn't get there. This eventually forced both Boomfish and I to move across the river, as we'll see later. A family member, Dean, decided to join the realm, and he quickly took to building a house for himself. One day I logged into the realm and discovered a massive barn going up behind the house. The bottom floor of this barn has pens for livestock, horses, sheep, cows and chickens, and the top floor was going to be Dean's bedroom and living space. He did rather well on the roof decorations too. Unfortunately, Dean didn't finish this build and he went off to the north to build his more permanent residence and mine. As I was fast running out of space in the chests within the house, it was time to build a storage hall. So I branched off from the chicken and cow cooker room and dug a large hall which I could fill with chests. The original intent here was to convert this to an auto sorter, but the auto sorter idea never really took off, purely due to space and a lack of redstone resources. I made a conscious effort to decorate the space, which I think looks rather amazing. As time progressed, the need for more storage space, a map room and smelting facilities were required. I started building a large hall branching off the storage hall. This too was decorated to the same level of detail. This map room is large enough to accommodate maps covering the entire discovered area of the realm. We are at the green dot in the middle of the map, which is directly below the library. The end portal is underneath the desert village on the edge of the desert, about 600 blocks to the south. I went off in search of spruce about 700 or so blocks to the northeast. The maps are fixed into item frames sitting on top of jack-o'-lanterns for light. This has worked out rather well and is rather cheap. The auto smelter started life as a 4-furnace smelter, which quickly morphed into a 12-furnace smelter. Items to be cooked go into the chest on the right, and the output eventually appears in the bottom chest. Behind the scene, there's a hopper minecart delivering the items into the furnaces. To the left of the furnaces is the fuel input. I initially started with manual fuel input using coal or bamboo or something, but then quickly built an automated bamboo farm in the field directly above to deliver bamboo into the fuel input, where the fuel would be delivered by a hopper minecart. I had lots of problems with uneven fuel and item delivery here, as the items would end up stacked at one end of the furnace array and fuel the other end of the array. After trying different variations using hopper minecarts and then just hopper chains, I've largely given up on this auto furnace for a 72 furnace auto smelter underneath the castle, which we'll see later. Travelling between buildings above ground was dangerous in the early days. Playing on the Xbox with a controller meant that I had to cycle amongst the inventory slots slower than I needed to at times, so I was often caught out by hostile mobs. The better strategy was to dig tunnels between the various buildings. Thus, I dug a tunnel from the Corrales barn to the storage hall, which gave birth to the idea of connecting all of the major builds via tunnel. These tunnels were also quite detailed. The needs of the storage hall waxed and waned over time. I extended it further to include a potion brewing room, a room for growing netherwort, a room for growing pumpkins, and a room for making honey from bees. The potion brewing room actually started life as a shifting floor machine to fast tick grow flowers. As I couldn't keep up with the bone meal requirements, I dismantled the machine and converted the room to brew potions. The machine itself is one which Pixel Rift built in his Minecraft Survival Guide series, and then later released a tutorial for it. Stocking the machine took time, as I had neither blaze powder nor gas tiers and such. To use the machine, one needs to know the recipes for the various potions, which are available through the Minecraft Fandom Wiki website. The Netherwalk crop room was built to grow netherwort sourced from a fortress in the Nether, with the netherwort used primarily for potions. This machine works by planting netherwort in rows that form tiers. When the crop is fully grown, I can press a button which causes water to be dispensed from the far wall, washing the netherwort crop into hoppers at the front of this room, and be collected in a chest to our left. We then have to manually replant new netherwort and wait for it to grow. Netherwort grows faster in dark, unlit spaces, but I've found that the output of this farm provides enough for whatever we need in the realm. The pumpkin farm room has morphed over time due to bugs in how observers viewed the pumpkin stalks. Up until late 1.15, the pumpkin stalks could not be read by observers, so we had to put an observer on the pumpkin block itself, which led to a problem in that the observer would fire when the piston broke the pumpkin block, causing an infinite loop. I initially built the pumpkin farm using the smart observer technique, which relies on a locked repeater to stop the piston firing more than once. This led to lots of space taken up by the smart piston mechanics and not enough room for the actual pumpkin growing bit. Late 1.15 came along, which fixed the bug, and I was able to rearrange the room to as we see today. And now we are seeing much higher rates of pumpkin blocks being produced. In the realm, we can use pumpkins as food, as jack-o'-lanterns in lighting situations, or more commonly used to trade for emeralds with the farmer villagers. The last addition to the storage hall has been the bee farm. This farm is totally manual and requires the beehives to be manually emptied. The only innovative part to this room is the entrance to it. Bees don't like water, and so I built a water-based airlock to get in and out of it without having the bees escape behind me. The item produced by this farm is honey, and very slowly at that. There is a honeycomb farm underneath the castle, which we'll see later.